All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to tackle one of the oldest, biggest questions there is. We're putting together a toolkit, a practical guide that blends timeless wisdom from philosophy with some really cutting-edge science, all to figure out what it truly means to live a good life.
So let's just ask it straight up. What actually makes a life good? I mean, is it about being happy? Is it success? Meaning? This is a question that philosophers, scientists, and, well, all of us have been wrestling with for centuries. Today, we're going to dig into some of the most powerful answers anyone's ever come up with.
We're going to start by jumping back about 2,000 years to the Stoics. This line from Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, it just cuts right to the heart of their whole philosophy. The ultimate power, the only real power we have, is over our own character and our own reactions. For them, the good life is an inside job. It starts with you.
Now let's rocket forward to the 20th century, to a psychiatrist who survives the absolute horrors of the Holocaust. Viktor Frankl's big lesson for us was that even when you're facing unimaginable suffering, the thing that drives humans is this profound need for meaning. So it's not about avoiding pain, because you can't. It's about what you do with it.
And then from Japan, we get this beautiful concept of ikigai. You could translate it as a reason for being, or a reason to get up in the morning. It's all about finding that magic intersection, that sweet spot where what you love, what you're good at, and what the world needs, it all comes together. We're definitely going to explore this more, but it is a vital piece of the toolkit.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We'll start with that big ancient question. Then we'll dive right into mastering your inner world. From there, we'll crack the connection code and look for purpose beyond the 9 to 5. Then we'll get some perspective by thinking from the end. And finally, we'll bring it all home by talking about living your philosophy.
First things first, you can't build a sturdy house on a shaky foundation, right? It's the same thing with life. Before we can even think about building a good life on the outside, we have to lay a solid foundation on the inside. And for that, the ancient Stoics basically give us a masterclass.
Now check this out. What I love about this is just how brutally simple it is. The Stoics argued that our suffering doesn't really come from what happens to us, but from our judgments about what happens. So the whole game is to pour all your energy into this column on the left, your responses, your opinions, your actions, and to learn to accept the stuff on the right with a bit of grace. It's a simple idea, but man, it's a lifetime's work to actually practice.
And Viktor Frankl really built on this idea of internal focus with his theory, which he called logotherapy. After seeing who survived the concentration camps and, just as importantly, why, he came to believe that our deepest drive isn't for pleasure, it's not for power, it's for meaning. Even when everything is stripped away from you, that one last freedom, the freedom to choose your attitude, to find your own meaning, that can never be taken away.
So if meaning is the ultimate goal, how in the world do we find it? Well, Frankl didn't leave it all abstract and fuzzy. He laid out 3 very clear paths. First, through what we create or the work we do. Second, through what we experience. Things like love, beauty, or a deep connection with another person. And third, and this might be the most powerful one, through the attitude we choose to take when we're facing suffering that we simply cannot change.
Okay, so we have our inner foundation. Now let's build on it. Let's move from our inner world to our connections with other people. Because it turns out, after you work on mastering yourself, the very next step is reaching out. And modern science has some absolutely stunning things to say about this. 85 years. Just let that sink in. For 85 years, and it's still going, the Harvard study of adult development has been tracking the lives of hundreds of people all the way from their teens into their old age. This is, hands down, the longest, most detailed study of human life ever done. It gives us this incredible, unprecedented look at what really makes people thrive over a lifetime. So after all that time, all those interviews, all that data, what was the single biggest takeaway? It's this. Good relationships keep us happier and healthier. Period. That's it. It's not about how much money you have or being famous or your career. It's the quality of your connections. The study tells the story of one participant, Sterling Ainsley, who let his relationships just wither away. And it's this powerful, cautionary tale about how isolation is a real poison to a good life.
And what's so amazing is how this just proves that modern science is finally catching up with ancient wisdom. I mean, more than 2,000 years before the Harvard study even began, the Greek philosopher Epicurus already knew this. He argued that having a few true friends was way more valuable for your happiness than having tons of money or luxury.
The Harvard researchers have a great term for this idea. They call it social fitness. And it works just like physical fitness. You don't just go to the gym once and say, all right, I'm fit forever. It takes consistent effort.
It means making the call, scheduling the coffee, showing up for people. It's an active, ongoing practice of nurturing the connections that, in turn, end up nurturing you. Now, that might sound like a lot of work, but here's the really good news. So look at this. While about half of your happiness is determined by your genetic baseline, and only about 10% by your circumstances, like income or where you live, a massive 40% is down to your intentional, daily choices. And that's where social fitness lives. That's the part we can actually control and improve. That's our playground.
So we've covered our inner world, and we've covered our relationships. Now let's talk about the one thing we spend so much of our lives doing, our work. How do we find meaning and purpose in what we do every single day?
This is where that Japanese concept of ikigai offers such a powerful map. It's all about finding the intersection of 4 key things: what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. See, it's not just about a paycheck. It's about aligning your passion and your skills with a mission that actually serves other people. When you find that, work becomes a genuine reason for being.
Now for our next tool. And this one's, well, it's a profound one. It's about using the one certainty that all of us share, our own mortality, not as something to be afraid of, but as a lens to bring our present life into razor-sharp focus. A palliative care nurse named Bronnie Ware spent years with people in their final weeks, and she heard the same things over and over and over again. These 5 regrets. And just notice how they echo everything we've been talking about: being true to yourself, connection over work, being emotionally honest, friendship. These aren't about missing out on bungee jumps. They're about the absolute fundamentals of a life well lived.
So, how can we use this powerful insight proactively? Well, Jeff Bezos famously used a mental model he calls the regret minimization framework. It's what he used when he was deciding whether to leave his safe, stable job to start this little online company called Amazon. It's a tool designed to cut through all the short-term noise and fear that can cloud our biggest decisions.
The process is simple, but it is incredibly powerful. When you're at a crossroads, just picture yourself at age 80 looking back at this exact moment, and then ask yourself, which path will my 80-year-old self regret not taking? See, the fear of failure is usually temporary, but the regret of never even trying, that can be permanent. This framework helps you choose the path of courage.
And that brings us to our final section, living your philosophy. We've put together a really powerful toolkit here, right? We have stoic resilience, the search for meaning, social fitness, ikigai, the regret minimization framework, but just knowing these things isn't enough. The final and most important step is to move from knowing to doing, to actually putting it all into action.
And we're going to end where we began, with the Stoics. Epictetus gives us this powerful command. It's not enough to read about these ideas or to talk about them. The entire point is to live them. Your actions, not your words, are what define your philosophy, and ultimately, the quality of your life.
So I'll just leave you with this question. After going through this whole toolkit, what is one small thing you will do differently? Who will you call? What fear will you face? How will you choose to embody your philosophy starting today? Because the good life isn't something you find, it's something you build.